We're about to get underway with some of our official business now, so if I could just bring you to order, that'd be great, thanks. Friends, good evening. My name's Alistair Bain. I'm a parent here at Lansdowne Crescent Primary School. It is my great privilege to welcome all of you to the Lansdowne Crescent Primary School Centennial Cocktail Party. We acknowledge and pay respect to the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the traditional and original owners and continuing custodians of this land that we are assembled on today. Joining us tonight, we have a number of politicians and community leaders. We also have three past principals in John Carter, Carol Mackle and Peter Marmion. And I know many of you who are here tonight are past students and past staff, and I've even bumped into a few of you who are parents of past students as well. Welcome all of you to the mighty Lansdowne Crescent Primary School. When my wife Rachel and I moved to Hobart, there were lots of things we weren't sure about in our move here. We didn't know where to buy our pizzas from or where we should be getting our coffee. Didn't know which bookshops we should be spending our time and our money in. We didn't really know who our friends would be. And there are always lots of unknowns, aren't there, when you move to a new city? But there was one thing that we did know before we came to Hobart, and that was we knew which primary school we wanted our family to be a part of. We'd heard about this one, and we wanted in. And so we printed out a map of the catchment area off the website. We made sure we rented a house in the zone. And when we got to Hobart, we rang up the school office, we told them where we lived. They said we were in the zone, and we already knew that. And our children were duly enrolled. And nearly 6 years later, we're able to say that all the good things we'd heard about Lansdowne Crescent before we moved here have proven to be true. In 1916, the residents of Lansdowne Crescent heard for the first time the sound of local school children. Children running and shouting and playing, children making friends, children being friends. By the end of its first week, Lansdowne Crescent Primary School had 109 students under the care of its head teacher, Mr. William Howard. And in the 100 years since then, some sort of bell has rung, and waves of children have washed into classes, and then a bit later that same bell has rung, and the same waves of children have washed out of the classes back into the yard. And there's been laughter, and there's been tears, and there's been joy, and there's been sadness. There have been new discoveries, worlds previously unimagined have been found and entered into. Potentials that had been lying dormant and hidden have become unlocked. And children have become young adults. And those young adults who had been so powerfully shaped by what they experienced at this school have gone on to be lifelong learners and powerful shapers of new communities in which they would end up living. And this has been happening now for a century. Wars have come and gone and then come again. Bridges have been built and knocked down and then built again. Man has gone to the moon. Women have been given the vote. Shining pink sands on a lake have been flooded in the name of progress. A Tasmanian has won the Man Booker Prize for a novel about war and love. And the 109 students of 1916 under the care of William Howard have become the 420 students of 2016 under the care of Monique Carter. And while all this has been going on, the bell at Lansdowne Crescent has continued to ring. And so tonight, on the first day of spring, we come together to celebrate 100 years of Lansdowne. We remember the past, we enjoy the present, and we look into the future, wondering what the next 100 years will be like for the teachers and the students who come into this place and call it their school. Well, I'd now like to invite Andy Cunningham to come up. And when I say up, I really mean up, because I've got a chair for him to stand on. And he's going to give us a sense of the history of this school.
Oh, thank you, Alistair. I obviously didn't eat as many vegetables as you as a kid. I think Monique asked me to do this speech, mainly because I'm a history nerd, and I was discussing it with a colleague at work, and she said, well, maybe it's because you're old. I hadn't actually considered that. I'm actually half the age of this school, which does worry me a little bit. Like all good scholars, I began my research with Wikipedia. And amazingly, there's an entry there for the history of West Hobart, and this is a line from that page. The area was first settled as a farming district, hosting poultry, dairy, hops, orchards, and Chinese market gardens. Lansdowne Crescent is believed to be modelled on the Lansdowne Crescent in Bath, and you may recognise the tourists standing there behind me. In the late 1880s, the area became more urban and a site for the oval was selected. The government paid £1,000 for it. The school opened its doors to inquiring young minds on the 17th of January 1916, and the following day this notice appeared in the Mercury. Lansdowne Crescent School. The new school at Lansdowne Crescent, West Hobart, was open for business yesterday. The school is in charge of Mr. W. Howard, formerly of the Bellery School, with Miss Ivy Watson as assistant. These were tough times. They were halfway through World War I. And as you enjoy sipping your cocktail this evening, you might like to consider that just over 100 years ago, it was illegal to drink in bars after tea time. It was known as the 6 o'clock swill, and that curfew lasted 21 years. At this time, the Australian population was less than 5 million, and the population of Tasmania was a shade under 200,000. Also, the first hydroelectric power station came online that year. The original building is in where grade 3 is today, and by the end of the first week, as Alistair mentioned, there were 109 budding students. There was a glowing school inspection a fortnight after it opened, and that set the future tone for the values we still uphold today. Unfortunately, that year there was an outbreak of diphtheria in West Hobart, and that disrupted school life and attendance. In 1924, Lansdowne Crescent State School Choir made broadcasting history. They performed in the very first radio broadcast from the Mercury building. In November 1925, the school had its wireless stolen. The headmaster, Mr. Gordon Harris, said that the radio was one of the best of its kind in the state and was used on Mondays and Fridays. The wireless was the property of the children, valued at £60. 3 boys, students at the school, later appeared in the children's court charged with theft. Their excuse was they wanted to get in touch with people in England and America. The 1930s depression saw a drop in school numbers, and in World War II, former student Geraldine Kazali remembers air raid drills in trenches dug near Kinder. Each student had a pouch with a piece of rubber to put in their mouth and cotton wool over their ears. This picture is actually from a school in Sydney, but you can see what I'm trying to talk about. The following 2 photos are actually at Lansdowne. We're trying to figure out which classes they're in. But this school actually doubled as an air raid shelter, and we've got two photos of nurses ready for action. The swinging 60s saw the start of television, the Tasman Bridge open, the rise of Premier Electric Eric, the trauma of the 67 fires, and West Hobart was no longer a working class suburb. One of the more unusual things that happened at this school in the 1960s was when Ashton Circus came to town. 3 large Indian elephants were tethered above the Hamilton Street path on this site. Unbelievably, in the 1980s, the school was on the closure list. Cameron Atkins, former student, remembers the kinder roof blowing off. He also remembered a very funny incident with the former principal, Mr. Price, who played an April Fool trick on the entire school by announcing on the PA system that a street ice cream van had rolled over on Lansdowne Crescent. And you better be quick before they all melt. Cameron also had fond memories of Mrs. Bell's shop on the Crescent, as Friday was Pie Day. In the 1990s, the numbers recovered. Oldies were selling up in the area, and due to urban expansion, there was greater demand for school places. Defunct features of school life include strictly segregated playgrounds for boys and girls, dangerously open wood fires in winter, wood monitors, lively students from Kennelly Boys Home, free milk days, celebrating Empire Day, inkwells, taking the tram to school, hot lunches, formal kinder cleanliness inspections for schools, shoes and hands, students cleaning the staff room, including emptying the ashtrays, singing God Save the Queen, and of course the dreaded cane, which I have an example here. Ex-student Jan Kilmartin confirmed earlier this week that during 1980s renovations, 600 canes were found by her brother, who pulled up the floor underneath Lucy Hughes' grade 4 classroom from the 1940s. Apparently the students used to grab them and put them through the holes in the floor when she wasn't looking. She might have been senile because after the 200th cane went missing, you'd think there would be a pattern developing. But I reckon she was a bit smart, so she probably had shares in guns. Famous ex-students are historian Henry Reynolds, who I've seen earlier somewhere here, and Max Walker, the cricketer Max Walker, and both who I believe suffered the wrath of Lucy Hughes. So we're now going to watch a video of ex-students by grades 4 and 6 that was played in assembly yesterday, so those of you who missed it, here we go.
What are common qualities a student at Lansdowne has?
Well, the first thing that everybody notices about students at Lansdowne is how welcoming and how polite they are, and how they always greet you, and they always use your name in a greeting. And the second thing that always surprises people is that Lansdowne children always ask people how they are, which is really lovely and unusual, more so these days. They're very keen to learn, and that's another thing that lots of our visitors notice, that we've got very engaged learners who are very curious and very motivated in their learning. And they work very hard and really take charge of their learning.
Laughter, because school should be about fun. Learning is really fun. We learn all through our lives. I'm still learning heaps now, and I'm nearly 60. But it was really the laughter and fun. That was the way I judged how well the school was functioning. It was not from test results. It was when I saw children coming through the school gate in the morning. Were they skipping to school, or were they dragging themselves along? And luckily most people were skipping to school. Not everybody, and we always had to, nurture and support some people. And also the amount of happiness that I heard in laughter and smiles as I walked around the school and interacted with teachers, parents, and of course the children.
What are your key memories about Lansdowne, and how do you feel it has changed?
Well, Lansdowne Crescent only had 100 children when I came, and we were tiny. So we had one grade group that we went through each year of schooling with. So my friends in grade 1 were still my same classmate friends in grade 6. I know now you've got how many at school?
Around 400.
400, and we were actually on the list of schools that they might have closed down because we were so tiny. So lots of key memories was that everyone came and lived from around the area, and all my friends' parents still live in the same houses. So my mum and dad still live up in Kerbal Court, so I used to walk to school, and we used to all walk to school. There was hardly anyone who drove their car to school. So most of us used to walk to school because we lived so close.
What would be your advice to any student like us?
What would be my advice? Well, I spent most of my life teaching. I taught in high schools and then I taught in universities for a long time. And having done that and thought about it, my advice to students, that is older students, and it seems to me it's as good for any age, is the most important thing, and one which can't be taught, is to have curiosity about everything. Be curious. And if you are curious, go and find out. Whatever it is, be as curious and want to know. That's the most important thing. Now, lots of people who aren't curious still do well because they learn everything and they learn it all and they know it all. But what really enlivens education at any level is your curiosity.
Can you describe the teaching style when you were at school and if possible compare it to today's?
Yes. I wouldn't say that there's any great difference in the teaching style. I found the teachers in my early days were extremely caring. We were basically pampered right from the grade, the little school that was down the bottom here, and then when you gradually got through the classes, I think I went from 3 to 4, and as I said, Def Cooper was our class teacher, and she was very interested in every kid she had in the class.
Okay, all credit to Maria Pace for coordinating the media production at this school and the grade 4 and 6 students for doing such wonderful work. Okay, we'll just carry on a little bit more. In 2012, Peter Marmion passed the principal's baton to Monique Carter, and we appreciate everything that you guys have done for us in this school. Lansdowne Crescent today is the jewel in the crown in West Hobart. It unites the community around us, and a good example of that was the defence of the Lady Gowrie development back in 2013. Thank goodness for that. Today in 2016, the school is a happy and progressive place to learn and a real Tasmanian success story. One thing that is not defunct is Hagley Camp, that the kids go to every year and enjoy, and we've got a few pictures here that I think Miss Hughes would appreciate. The kids go back in time and remember what it was like to work in a different kind of way. We've even got some teachers here having fun, chasing ducks at them. And there's Pete talking to a sheep. School hand inspections that I was mentioning earlier. Okay, on a personal note, this school has been a fantastic place for our boys to learn. And I also feel privileged. I almost feel like I've had my second childhood here, being involved so much. So we'll see you all again in 2116 for the bicentennial celebrations. And to give you an idea what that may look like, the grade 5 and 6 students have made some models of what this school will look like in 100 years' time. This one is a school in the dome by Ella and Finella, and the reason they did that was because they think the air will be unbreathable in 100 years' time. Lastly, the school has gone underground, and this model was made by my son Adam and Zara. They've relocated the school next to the River Derwent to see if any fish are swimming by they can catch for their lunch. So have a fantastic evening, and I'll leave you with a quote by Albert Einstein. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learnt in school. Cheers.
Thank you, Andy. Can I, if you haven't already seen it, there's a merchandise stall over near the door. And there's some things there, some centenary celebratory things to buy. Centenary badges, drink bottle. You can buy some Lansdowne Crescent labelled wine. And there's even a centenary magazine for sale that has archival photos and the history of the school wonderfully presented for us there. Now, I hope you've seen on the walls around us hundreds of pieces of art that the children have been working on during the year. And on your way in tonight, you will have walked past an art installation on the wall outside here. Cherie Martin has been our centenary artist in residence, and she and our students are a great delight in what she's done, so thank you. We're now going to officially open that art installation, and I'm going to invite Cherie to come up, and also our current principal, Monique.
It is, but our exhibit outside is absolutely amazing, and Cherie to have undertaken that process with all of our children and to have created that piece of work which is going to be here for more than the next 100 years is absolutely incredible, and it's very humbling. So we're not all going to go and walk outside and have a look at the art installation, or though I do encourage you to do that at any stage tonight, but instead we're going to officially open this by cutting this ribbon. You've got the scissors. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay! Woo! Congratulations. Well done. Oh! I'm not standing on there. I know you won't be able to see me. But I would like to say a few words. And there is a cup for the group of parents that can be the quietest during this time. There's a secret spotter in the room. I'd really like to thank Andy and Alistair. We wanted, as we said yesterday, the community is embedded in Lansdowne, and Lansdowne is embedded in our community. So to be able to have two key representatives of our community lead us and talk about our history has just been an embodiment of that. So thank you very much, Andy and Alistair. I have got a chair to stand on, but my heels are too high and I'll slip off. Thank you once again. This is absolutely amazing. We started to take names for who might come along to our cocktail celebrations a few weeks ago, and we had a small number. We're overwhelmed by the number of people that have turned up tonight, and that is an absolute testament to how dear Lansdowne is held in the hearts of all the people who've been part of it. So thank you very much, and we're really honoured that you could be here to celebrate this with us tonight and all of this week. And I'm saying that on behalf of all of our past colleagues of Lansdowne, and particularly my fellow past principals, Carol, John and Pete. Thank you all so much, the past families and students, for being here. I'm only going to say one thank you tonight, apart from our hosts, but our school association is incredible at Lansdowne. Absolutely incredible, and my golly, you would want to be on the right side of them, because they can fight a fight, and thankfully I've always been on the right side of them so far. But they have incredible power, incredible goodwill, and they work so hard for all of your children's education. And all of our past presidents, chairs of our school association have led such great groups, right from 1916, and we're hearing those stories about the mothers groups during that time. But thank you so much to all of our school community groups from 1916 to 2016. You are absolutely amazing. Thank you. So to those of you who shaped our past, and to those of you who continue to shape our future, a very big thank you for being here with part of us tonight. We do feel very honoured. I'm handing back to Alistair, our host.
So can I ask that you, if you haven't got a glass, you find one, and if you, or you can just pretend. It's okay, because it might be a bit of a rush on the bar. The final thing we need to do tonight is to toast our school, and so we're going to do that now. To Lansdowne. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your night. No, we've got it, sorry. There's one more thing. We've got to sing happy birthday. Eve Guducci has made a fabulous cake, which I recommend you come and have a close look at up here. But before we do anything with the cake, we're going to sing happy birthday. Are you ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to